Look at Buliga, number 11. Terrible start for the pole sitter, Andrea Iannone. Pecco Bagnaia, though, has the advantage. Buliga is scattered by Iannone. And the two VR46 riders running wide as well. There's also, it looks like, Jorge Martin going across the runoff area. Marc Marquez side by side with Franco Morbidelli. People rejoining. A bit of a mess of the start there, but it's Pecco Bagnaia leading. It was a bad getaway initially for the pole sitter. Andrea Iannone. Marc Marquez sits up the Pramac bike as they come through Rio Corner on the opening lap. Morbidelli then loses another one there because Michael Ruben Rinaldi's gone through as well, number 121 in the Moto Corsa Ducati livery. Bagnaia leads. Then it's Andrea Iannone. Buliga. Excellent start for Buliga. Marc Marquez is fourth from Michael Ruben Rinaldi, and more trouble going on as people sort themselves out around La Quercia corner. This has not been a good start to the race for the Pramac Ducati riders. Jorge Martin it was running wide at La Quercia, and number 89, second in the World Championship at the moment to Pecco Bagnaia, just 10 points behind him. Martin is all the way down to the back of the field now in 15th place. And look how hard Andrea Iannone on the yellow bike here is pushing in second place. This is his opportunity to try and put one over Pecco Bagnaia. Running wide is Marco Bezzecchi. Martin is not looking comfortable at all, is he? At the back of the field as he runs wide again there, but he's got it all to do now with 9 laps ahead of us. Hopefully nobody exceeding track limits. Buliga nearly was out almost onto the green paint on the outside into Misano corner. But here is Jorge Martin. He started 10th. He was off at the first chicane, and then he was off again at La Quercia halfway around the opening lap, and he completes this first lap, Martin. 5.5 seconds behind his championship rival, Pecco Bagnaia. 15th and last at the moment for Martin. There is the order on the left-hand side of your screen. Buliga now, third place, closing right in on Andrea Iannone as they come through the right-handers at Rio. Don't forget the track temperature is 50 degrees Celsius here this afternoon. And Michael Ruben Rinaldi now, number 121, the 28-year-old from Rimini, the World Superbike race winner, the former European Stock 1000 champion. He's coming under big pressure from his fellow Italian. Look at the bright yellow bike of number 72, Marco Bezzecchi, a fellow Rimini rider, and they nearly touched there as they came out of La Quercia. Rinaldi somehow still holding the position, but there was so nearly contact there between Rinaldi and Bezzecchi as they came out of La Quercia. Look what it's doing, it's backing them into Fabio Di Gianantonio, who's gone through. Di Gianantonio takes his teammates and is up into 6th place. And when I say teammates, I use the expression very loosely indeed, because I don't think we're going to be seeing any tactics in what is very much a non-championship race here with the Race of Champions today. Looks like they've switched back round again. So Bezzecchi's got the verdict as they come out of the Caro hairpin. Look at the lean angle for Andrea Iannone in second place. Here he is. Twice on the podium here in Grand Prix. It was Moto2 when he was third in back-to-back years, 2011 and 12. And he's only 0.2 of a second behind the reigning double MotoGP champion. And up the inside was going the yellow flash of Bezzecchi. Did he get through on Michael Ruben Rinaldi? Yes, they're both nearly gone through. They're nearly bumping into one another now. Bezzecchi is up into 5th position. The Gianantonio still in 7th place, and he's now attacking Rinaldi as we get down into the right-hander at Rio, one of the most difficult corners on the circuit here at Misano. They're down to first or second gear in that part of the track, about 30 miles an hour on these, what are essentially, don't forget, road-going machines, even though they are on slick tyres from Pirelli. And I'm not sure whether Bagnaia was expecting this coming into the weekend. A real attack going on here from the rider behind him, and it's Andrea Iannone. His family and friends watch on, joined down there by Claudio Domenicali, the Ducati CEO, who was kind enough to pop into the commentary box for a chat before the race started. Fabio Di Gianantonio has just gone through and taken Michael Ruben Rinaldi. Look in the background, the two VR46 riders there now. They were behind the Moto Corsa bike of Rinaldi just a couple of laps ago. Now they're both ahead of him. Franco Morbidelli is still in 8th place. Bastianini is 9th. Pirro is 10th. And Jorge Martin has managed to pass Glenn Irwin and Danilo Petrucci to get up into 13th place after going off twice on the opening lap. There is Jorge Martin. Ahead of him is Alex Marquez, who's attacking the reigning double World Superbike champion, Alvaro Bautista. Here they come. There's Morbidelli. Behind Morbidelli is Bastianini. Then it's Pirro. There's Bautista, number 1 in World Superbikes. Number 19 officially in this race. There's Petrucci. He's effectively, would you believe, riding with one arm at the moment after a terrible, near-fatal motocross crash getting on for 3 months ago now. And the fact Petrucci came through for a good point-scoring effort here at Misano just weeks after that in World Superbikes earlier this year was well nigh incredible. And then guess what? He was on the podium last weekend at Moss. There's Alex Marquez up the inside of Bautista, pushes it wide. Oh, and thank you very much, says Jorge Martin. Alvaro didn't want that. That's exactly why he was going to be cautious here this afternoon. He did not need a Marquez diving up the inside into Rio Corner. So Alex Marquez, former Moto2 and Moto3 world champion, is up into 11th place. Martin's gone through as well, as I say, and he's 12th. Here we go again on replay. Marquez on the left, Bautista. Well, if you didn't know he was there, Alvaro, you certainly do now, as Martin says muchas gracias and follows them through. Back at the front, we're not even at half race distance yet. Bring it on. 6 laps still to go at the end of this one in the 2024 Race of Champions here at World Ducati Week. Pirro won the race in 2018. We didn't have one in 20 because of the pandemic. Bagnaia won in 2022, and Bagnaia now then, having his best lap of the race so far, he's put in the fastest first sector of anybody in the race so far as we come through to the end of this lap, and look what he's done. He's extended the advantage over Iannone, the pole sitter, to 7/10 of a second. You can see the gaps at the left-hand side of your screen, 7/10 between the top two, and then it's always the gap to the next rider, so 3/10 between Iannone in second place, Buliger in third, and 1.3 seconds back to this man here, number 93, the 8-time world champion, 6 of those titles in the MotoGP Premier class. It is Marc Marquez, the 31-year-old from Cervera in Spain. Now, is he closing in? You can see the change on this new Panigale V4S with one large central air intake, which differs to the 2 individual air intakes we had on each side of the bike in its previous guise. And Buliger now is putting some real heat on Andrea Iannone for that second place. Martin's progress continues, by the way. Jorge Martin has gone through and taken Alex Marquez, so Jorge fighting his way back through the field. I always want to suggest he deliberately ran wide on the first lap to keep himself out of chaos, but of course he had a couple of mistakes. He's passed Marquez now though, and Martin, second in the MotoGP World Championship, is up into 11th place in this race. There's Pecco's lead, just shy of 1 second. Down through these right-handers where you are decreasing in speed. This is the Caro hairpin. About 35 miles an hour on these bikes. Quick left-hander now coming up at turn 15. There is the maestro himself, Gigi Dell'Igna, watching on. And I hear in the paddock that Gigi was quite nervous before this race. The last thing he wants is his own Ducati riders running into one another. But all 15 are still running as we get into the 6th of the 10 laps. Half race distance then now here in the Race of Champions. And look at Bagnaia, calmly, serenely pulling away from Andrea Iannone. Having said that, Andrea did submit on one of his brilliant last sectors on that last lap and took a couple of tenths out of Bagnaia. So let's keep a close eye on this to see what he can do over the full lap. Bagnaia, 24 times a MotoGP Grand Prix winner. And Marc Marquez is beginning to catch second and third. Iannone on the Go 11 bright yellow bike. Buliger on the Aruba Ducati liveried machine behind him. I'm going to keep a very close eye on the 2 VR46 guys as well as Gino Borsoi and Davide Tardozzi. What's on? Davide, of course, famous not just for his input in the Ducati MotoGP team, but he previously led as team principal the Superbike team as well, with riders such as Troy Corser and Carl Fogarty, and of course Davide will forever remain in history as the first ever winner of a World Superbike race, and that was Donington Park on Easter Monday in 1988. But did you see Buliger just a moment ago absolutely sideways down through the right-hander of turn 12, the 330. There's the hairpin at 14. Buliger was a tenth slower than Andrea Iannone last time round, 135.7 versus 135.8. But it certainly looks as though he's beginning to get a little bit impatient now, the youngest rider in this race. Number 11, Nicolo Buliger, reigning Supersport world champion and having a glorious season on his debut in the Superbike class. 40 points ahead of Alvaro Bautista, the reigning double champion, and his teammate. There's Iannone. into Rio. Where's the move going to come? Marquez is 1.4 behind them now. Every time I think Mark is closing in, and there is the gap, he just loses a fraction again. Here it is updating after sector 1. 44 thousandths of a second quicker in that first part of the lap is good, but it's not good enough to catch them with only 4 laps remaining in this race of champions. What can Buliga do then about Andrea Iannone? Bagnaglia's lead is still 7/10 of a second, which it has been now for the last 3 or 4 laps. Into Tramonto corner, the sunset corner. Because you're heading west when you get there. Marquez takes another 10th out of them, and it's down to 1.2. However, Iannone is particularly quick in the last half of the lap, and not least the 4th and final sector. Buliga was as spectacular as ever again there, using all of the grip available and then some from the rear slick Pirelli tyre. Iannone is catching Bagnaia. Bagnaia has lost 4/10 of a second there in the 3rd of the 4 sectors. Now, is he just playing the game and giving us a bit of a race? Or is Iannone genuinely catching him? Did Pecco make a mistake somewhere? We'll have 3 laps to go when they cross the line. And of all the people attacking you, you don't want it to be Andrea Iannone. Marquez's pitboard goes out. L3, 3 laps remaining here. There's Buliga. Bagnaia still has the fastest lap of the race, but he lost another 10th to Iannone in the final sector. And now it's down to 0.2. Look at Iannone's lap time last time round on the left-hand side of your screen at 1:35.6. He was 4/10 quicker on that lap alone than Pecco Bagnaia. Buliga is not out of this either. He's within a second of the leader. There's Marc Marquez coming through the shot, through the left-hander at turn 6 in second gear. And now you accelerate down the back straight at about 145 miles an hour, back down through the box to 55 miles an hour. In probably second gear on these road-going bikes. Number 49 is Fabio Di Gianantonio, the Qatar Grand Prix winner with Gresini. Towards the end of last season, will have just 2 laps remaining. When we next cross the line, now we really are going to find out whether Bagnaia is just giving us a bit of a race here, or whether Iannone is genuinely catching him with 50 degrees Celsius track temperature here. All the Ducati legends, current and previous, are watching on here. There's Franco Morbidelli, former Superstock 600 champion of Europe. Bastianini is catching him, and in the background, Jorge Martin, who went off on the first lap as Morbidelli now goes off. Martinini doing the same behind him. So this is the fight for 8th place, Frankie Morbidelli and Enea Bastianini. But look in the background, because Pirro and Martin are absolutely locked together. There's Bastianini 23, there's the number 51 of the 6-time Italian Superbike champion, Michele Pirro, and there then is the rider who so narrowly missed out on the MotoGP World Championship last year. He's still second this year, only 10 points behind Pecco Bagnaia. That's Jorge Martin. He went off twice on the first lap of the race. He's passed Len Irwin, Petrucci, Bautista and Alex Marquez. And his next target now is Michele Pirro. 2 laps remaining, and the gap at the front is 6/10 of a second. There's Rinaldi. Rinaldi, remember, number 121, had a brilliant start to the race from 11th and ran as high as 5th in the opening stages before Bezzecchi and Di Gianantonio passed him. Now he's 7th, and this is Buliga giving some heat against Iannone, and I think Bagnaia was definitely playing with them like a cat with a ball string, because now he's extended the lead on the penultimate lap to just over 1 second. So, who's going to get second place? And can Marc Marquez do anything about these two in the closing stages? Because the Ant is now just 8/10 of a second behind Nicolo Buliga. Buliga, who won that 2015 Junior World Championship in Moto3 with one of the most consistent racing seasons you will ever see. 3 poles, 7 podiums and just 1 win. Right up to the edge of the curb, on braking into the Caro hairpin. And Pecco has gone. Pecco's 1.5 seconds up the road now. There he is, coming through to the 10th and final lap in this race of champions at Misano. But who's going to get this second place? Is it going to be Iannone, who started on a glorious pole position, or will it be Buliga? This is the final lap. There's Bagnaia. The yellow bike is Iannone. Buliga and Marc Marquez backing it down into the park chicane. What a great scrap that is. Is Marquez going to be able to challenge Buliga before Buliga attacks Iannone? Bezzecchi and Di Gianantonio there are 5th and 6th. Rinaldi still 7th, defending from Morbidelli and Bastianini. Jorge Martin is now in 10th place. He's got a second though between himself and Bastianini to get up into 9th place. Piro is 11th. Alex Marquez is 12th. Batista, being careful, thinking about his World Superbike Championship challenge. 13th. Petrucci, still nursing his right arm injuries. 14th. And Glenn Irwin down in 15th position. Half a lap to go. Up the road goes Pecco Bagnaia. But who's going to get that second place? Will it be Iannone? Will it be Bulega? Or will it be Marc Marquez? And now the time between Bulega and Marquez is exactly the same. A second and third. In fact, scrap that, because look at the ground he's made up through Tremonto Corner. Nicolo Bulega and Marc Marquez are about to go head-to-head here on the final lap of the Race of Champions. And Nicolo Bulega, if he wasn't awake already, will certainly be in just a few moments, because right behind him now is the 8-time world champion, Marc Marquez, 59 times a Premier Class Grand Prix winner in MotoGP, 105 times on the podium, 65 times on pole position, and he's desperate to get on the rostrum here. Pecco Bagnaia then into Misano Corner at Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli, and Bagnaia wins the Race of Champions of 2024. And where has Bulega gone? Bulega is down at the last corner of the race. Out goes Nicolo Bulega, who had Marc Marquez right behind him. I wonder what happened there on the 10th and final lap, because the body language tells the tale. And from the gesture there, from number 11, the 24-year-old from Montalcino Emilia, the youngest rider in the race. He did compete here in 2022 on a mixed grid with a V2. And there was contact by the looks of it. Marquez goes through, Bulega goes down. What a shame to see one of these new Panigale V4S bikes smashed into pieces. We need to see another angle of that, because I suspect there may have been contact in that last corner. Nadia Padovani and everybody watching on. Arturo Villalta there and Gigi Dell'Inno. I hope Nicolo Bulega is not hurt. He's managing to walk away. He cannot believe that. And the bike has gone all the way up to the barrier. Well, I did say earlier on we've seen drama at the last corner here at Misano when we were talking about Iannone and Polo Spargo back in 2009 in the 125cc class. Is there any damage to Marc Marquez's bike? Or did he just dive at the inside and force Bulega into a mistake? I can't see any damage to what would be the right-hand side of the Marquez machine. There's your winner, though, without any shadow of a doubt. He's done it again. His second consecutive victory then here in the Race of Champions. Pecco Bagnaia. Now look on the right-hand side of the screen. Oh, it's difficult to tell, isn't it? Was there contact or was there not? Bulega there certainly feels it was Marc's fault. Of that there is no doubt whatsoever. As the marshals welcome everybody back in. They've been very, very busy, the marshals here. There's been a lot of track activity for this event with all sorts of parades happening out on the circuit. We've had the 999s out there. We've had the 916 as we mark the 30th anniversary of the Ducati 916, incidentally. And of course, these all new V4S Panigales, which are at least 1 second quicker than its predecessor. But Pecco Bagnaia came to Misano for World Ducati Week this year, and the 27-year-old from Turin just gets better and better and better. He's already a twice winner of the MotoGP World Championship, and now by the looks of things, he's going to disengage all of the electronics, all operated via a fantastic new screen on this bike. And anyone who does a track day, you really need to take a look at it. It's a huge screen. You've got sector times on there. It tells you your tyre pressures, your tyre temperatures. There's race mode. There's all sorts of different stuff you can do on these bikes. And this is what we were waiting for.